Okay, welcome back for the last segment here. I just want to revisit the farmer example for one last second. I just want to talk about this critical analysis, and it's so important. I keep emphasizing when we do the graphic text exercise in class is that you look at the broad picture here in terms of the conclusion. So we talked about there must be other factors to consider as the relationship only has moderate strength. I just want to continue that for one quick second. Some factors may include, so what are some of the reasons or other factors to take into account? So you need to kind of draw on A, maybe your background in science, or B, your background as in the farming community, but what may be incorporated. Mean temperature isn't the only factor. It could be rainfall. So typically years with higher rainfalls may result in cooler temperatures. So rainfall could be a consideration. Soil nutrients. All right, depends year to year. If you're moving from field to field, you could have a different soil composition. And there could be, if you want to get really technical, it could be compaction. All right, so there's other factors in there, and I really, when you're doing some of these examples and homework questions, I want you to stop for this last part of these questions, the C part, the what conclusions can you be made on your results, because you're going to have to do this in the project. You're going to have to think critically, and you have to go beyond. There must be other factors, and I want you to think about or list some of the other factors that may be there. All right, and I'll show you in the next example. So the last example here. This was from a car magazine. I got this out of a car magazine, and this was the data that was provided. It's the same three questions, A, B, and C, that we just completed. So you need to use the calculator or bring your simulator up. And mine goes to sleep. It thinks it's actually a real calculator. So I got to actually turn it back on. So this is where we left it. That was the analysis. I'm going to go back to stat. Instead of, don't reset it every time, because then you have to go through and put all the functions back on. When you hit the second plus 712 and reset the RAM, you have to go back and turn diagnostic mode on, and so on and so forth. So it's sometimes just easier to go into your stat, edit the list, and just hold the delete button and delete the column, or overwrite. You can do that as well, whichever you find more convenient. All right. It just makes it a less headache when you're trying to set up the modes. So, quickly entering in the data. So 105, 170, 124, 17, 296. Enter. And 6.7, 9.2, 5.9, 3.4. and 8.4. So again, you need to make sure you adjust your window appropriately. So this is the same in grade 9 when you had to do graphs by hand. You had to figure out what scale. So you're using those skills. So when you go to window, you look at the data, and I see that the luxury sports car goes to 296. So it's going to go from 0 to 300. So I've already gone through that. And then the Y values, I'm going to go from 0, and 9.2 is the greatest, so I'm going to use 10. I then plot my scatter plot, and I see that, again, it is possible for a line to fit those points. How good? My estimation at this point, if I was to put an estimate to it when I follow the points, I'm gonna be saying it's probably not an overly strong one, and we can test that out by going back to stat, calculate, move across, and we're picking number 4 again. We're looking at linear regression today. And I'm going to hit enter, and I find that the R value is actually 0.816. So I'm going to take a screenshot of that to make it a little bit nicer for me to finish off the note. So like that. And put the split screen quick, and move it in here so I can talk about it. Okay. So there is the analysis from the calculator. So A part. Okay, determine the correlation between the two variables. Okay, well, correlation, it's 0.8166 or 0.82. So I'm going to say that that's a fairly strong relationship. So there is a strong linear correlation correlation between horsepower and fuel consumption. And B part, determining that R value, R equals 0.82. All right, so conclusions, and this is really for me, A and B is just practicing using the calculator. It's the C part that you really have to start opening your mind a little bit and not worry about finishing homework, but answering the homework questions, practicing with that critical thinking skill. So what conclusions can be made? Well, I would say that there is definitely a linear relationship between horsepower and fuel consumption. Now, if it was a perfect relationship, we'd be getting into the 90s, but we're only into low 80s, so it's not perfect. So that means that there may be some other minor factors. So some other factors that may account are. So what are some of the other factors that may play a role here? Okay, so one of the factors may be the driver. If you're like my wife, hammer down. Okay, we want to go, throttle goes right down. Don't tell her I said that though. Second one, type of fuel. Okay, what happens if the higher performance cars are using a higher octane? All right. When I look at the vehicle distribution there, the different types of vehicles, motorbike versus minivan versus luxury sports car, we have mass differences, okay, or I'll put weight, to use the generic term, weight differences. Temperature could play a role. If it's really cold in Canada, or if one of the tests were done in Canada, the other one in the southern U.S., it may cause a difference. Okay, this is the analysis of the thinking, because although it's 0.82, right, because it's 0.82, it doesn't mean that it's a cut and dry, it's over with. If it's a 1.0 relationship, then you can walk away saying, yeah, we have a direct correlation. None of the data in your project is going to be 1.0, and probably not much of the homework is going to be 1.0. So that being said, that means that this C part is a huge component when I'm looking at this particular section in the test and the exam and the project. You're going to have to step out and make conclusions or figure out, well, why was it not perfect? What factors may have been involved? So keep that in mind when you're going through the homework. If you have any questions with the calculator or the homework itself, please let me know. Good luck.